NCERT Class 7 Science Chapter 1 Nutrition in Plants. Nutrients. The components of food which are necessary for our body is known as nutrients. The components of foods which are necessary for our body is known as nutrients. Mode of nutrition in plants. Plants are the only organisms that can prepare food for themselves by using water, carbon dioxide, and minerals. The raw materials are present in their surrounding. The nutrients enable living organisms to build their bodies, to grow, to repair damages of their bodies, and provide the energy to carry out life process. Nutrition is the mode of taking food by an organism and its utilization by the body. The mode of nutrition in which organisms make food themselves from simple substances is called autotrophic. Autotrophic. So, the mode of nutrition in plants. First, what is nutrition? Nutrition is the mode of taking food by an organism and its utilization by the body. Plants are the only organism that can prepare food by themselves. Plants are the only organisms that can prepare food by themselves. The raw materials that are required for the preparation of food in plants are present in their surrounding. And the mode of nutrition in which organisms make food themselves from simple substances is called autotrophic. So, plants are autotrophic. Therefore, plants are called autotrophs. Plants make their food themselves, and the process by which organisms make food themselves is known as autotrophic. Therefore, plants are known as autotrophs. Autotrophs. Animals and most other organisms take in food prepared by plants. They are called heterotrophs. Animals and most other organisms take in food prepared by plants. So they are called heterotrophs. Photosynthesis, food making process in plants. Photosynthesis is the food making process in plants. Leaves are the food factories of plant. Therefore, all the raw material must reach the leaf. Water and minerals present in the soil are absorbed by the root and transported to the leaves. Carbon dioxide from air is taken in through the tiny pores present on the surface of leaves. These pores are surrounded by guard cells. Such pores are called stomata. So, leaves are the food factories of plant. So, all the raw materials must reach the leaf. For that, water and minerals is in the soil. It is absorbed by root and transported to leaves. Then carbon dioxide is another main factor. Carbon dioxide from air is taken in through the tiny pores present in the surface of leaves. Through the tiny pores present in the surface of leaves, these pores are called stomata. And these pores are surrounded by guard cells. Cells. You may have seen that buildings are made of bricks. Similarly, the body of living organisms are made up of tiny units called cell. The bodies of living organisms are made up of tiny units called cell. Cells can be seen only under the microscope. Some organisms are made up of only one cell. The cell is enclosed by a thin outer boundary called the cell membrane. The cell is enclosed by a thin boundary called the cell membrane. Most cells have a distinct centrally located spherical structure called the nucleus. Centrally located spherical structure, nucleus. The nucleus is surrounded by a jelly-like substance called cytoplasm. A jelly-like substance called cytoplasm. Okay. So water and minerals are absorbed by the roots and the carbon dioxide is absorbed by the tiny pores present in the surface of leaf called the stomata. Water and minerals are transported to the leaves by the vessels which run like pipes throughout the root, the stem, the branches of the trees. They form a continuous path or passage for the nutrition to reach the leaf. They are called vessels. So this transport is done by vessels. That is, water and minerals is transported by the transported to the leaves through vessels. The leaves have a green pigment called chlorophyll. It helps leaves to capture the energy of the sunlight. This energy is used to synthesize, that means prepare food from carbon dioxide and water. Since the synthesis of food occurs in the presence of sunlight, it is called photosynthesis. Photo means light and synthesis means to combine. So we find that chlorophyll, sunlight, carbon dioxide and water are necessary to carry out the process of photosynthesis. This is a unique process on the earth. The solar energy is captured by the leaves and stored in the plant in the form of food. Thus, sun is the ultimate source of energy for all living organisms. Leaves have a green pigment called chlorophyll. The green pigment in leaves is chlorophyll, and this chlorophyll helps in the capture of the sunlight. This helps leaves to capture the energy of sunlight, and this energy is used to prepare food from carbon dioxide and water. So we find that sunlight, carbon dioxide and water is necessary for the process. This process is known as photosynthesis. In the absence of photosynthesis, there would not be any food. The survival of almost all living organisms directly or indirectly depend upon the food made by plants. Besides, oxygen is essential for the survival of all organisms is producing during photosynthesis. In the absence of photosynthesis, life would not be impossible in the earth. Life would be impossible on the earth. So, in the absence of photosynthesis, there won't be any food, and the survival of almost all living organisms directly or indirectly depend on food made by plants. Besides that, oxygen, which is essential for our survival, is also made in the process of photosynthesis. During photosynthesis, chlorophyll containing cells of leaves in the presence of sunlight use carbon dioxide and water to synthesize carbohydrates. The process can be expressed in an equation. That carbon dioxide plus water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll gives carbohydrates plus oxygen. Carbon dioxide plus water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll gives carbohydrate plus oxygen. During the process, oxygen is released. The presence of starch in the leaves indicates the occurrence of photosynthesis. Starch is also a carbohydrate. Besides leaves, photosynthesis also takes place in other green parts of the plant. In green stems and green branches, the desert plants have scales or span-like leaves to reduce loss of water by transpiration. These plants have green stems which carry out photosynthesis. So not only leaves carry out photosynthesis, green stems and green branches also takes place photosynthesis. The leaves other than green color also have chlorophyll. The large amount of red, brown and other pigment mask the green color. Photosynthesis takes place in these leaves too. The leaves that is not in the color of green also has chlorophyll, and it also photosynthesis takes place in these leaves too. It is not seen in green because of the large amount of red, brown or other pigment in the leaves. You often see slimy green patches in ponds or stagnant water bodies. These are generally formed by the growth of organisms called algae. They contain chlorophyll, which gives them the color green. Algae can also prepare their own food by photosynthesis. So, algae can also prepare their own food by photosynthesis. It has chlorophyll. Synthesis of plant food other than carbohydrates. You have just learned that plants synthesize carbohydrates through the process of photosynthesis. The carbohydrates are made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. These are used to synthesize other components of food such as proteins and fats. But proteins are nitrogenous substances which contain nitrogen. From where do the plants obtain nitrogen? Recall that nitrogen is present in abundance in gases from the air. However, plants cannot absorb nitrogen in this form. Soil has certain bacteria that convert gaseous nitrogen into a usable form and release it into the soil. These are absorbed by the plant along with water. Also, you might have seen farmers adding fertilizers rich in nitrogen to the soil. In this way, the plants fulfill their requirement of nitrogen along with the other constituents. Plants can then synthesize protein and vitamins. So, what plants synthesis other than carbohydrates? So, in the process of photosynthesis, carbohydrates is synthesized by plants, and the carbohydrate is made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, and these are used to synthesis of proteins and fats. But proteins is nitrogenous substances. So now I am wondering that how plants get nitrogen. Nitrogen is present in abundance in gaseous form in the air, but plants cannot absorb this nitrogen in this form. But soil has certain bacteria that converts gaseous nitrogen into a usable form and release it into the soil. These are absorbed by plants along with water. And also fertilizers rich in nitrogen is added by the farmers in the fields. Other modes of nutrition in plants. There are some plants which do not have chlorophyll. They cannot synthesize food. How do they survive and from where do they derive nutrition? Like humans and animals, such plants depend on food produced by other plants. They use the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Look at figure 1.5. This is figure 1.5. Do you see any yellow wiry branches structure twining around the stem and branches of a tree? This is called Cascuta or amarbel. It does not have chlorophyll. It takes ready-made fruit from the plant on which it is climbing. The plant on which it climbs is called the host. Since it deprives the host of valuable nutrients, Cascuta is called the parasite. So, other modes of nutrition in plants. Some plants do not have chlorophyll. How would they synthesize food? Like humans and animals, these plants depend on the food produced by the plants. So, they use heterotrophic mode of nutrition. And one example of plants which use this heterotrophic mode of nutrition is Cascuta. It do not have chlorophyll, so it takes ready-made food from the plant on which it is climbing. The plant on which it climbs is called the host. So since it deprives the host of valuable nutrients, these plants are known as parasites. These plants are known as parasites. There are a few plants which can trap insects and digest some. Such plants may be green or of some other color. Look at figure 1.6. Figure 1.6. The pitcher-like or jug-like structure in the modified part of leaf. The apex of the leaf formed a lid which can open and close the mouth of the pitcher. Inside the pitcher, there are hairs which are directly downwards. When an insect lands in the pitcher, the lid closes and trapped insect gets entangled into the hair. The lid closes and the insect is trapped. The insect is digested by the digestive juice secreted in the pitcher and its nutrients are absorbed. Such insectivorous plants is known as such insect-eating plants are called insectivorous plants. So some plants have the ability to trap insects and digest them. This is an example of insectivorous plants. Pitcher plant. It is an insectivorous plant. It has a pitcher-like modified leaf which trap insects. Saprotrophs. You might have seen packets of mushrooms sold in the vegetable market. You may have also seen fluffy umbrella-like patches growing in most soils or on rotten wood during the rainy season. Let us find out what type of nutrients they need to survive and from where they get them. You may have seen cotton-like threads spread on a piece of bread. These organisms are called fungi. They have a different mode of nutrition. They absorb the nutrients from the bread. This mode of nutrition, in which organisms take in nutrients from dead and decaying matter, is called saprotrophic nutrition. Such organisms with saprotrophic mode of nutrition are called saprotrophs. So the mode of nutrition in which organisms take in nutrients from dead and decaying matter is called saprotrophic nutrition. Such organisms with saprotrophic mode of nutrition are called saprotrophs. And fungi and mushroom are examples of saprotrophs. Some organisms live together and share both shelter and nutrients. This relationship is called symbiosis. For example, certain fungi live inside the roots of plants. The plants provide nutrients to the fungi and in return the fungus provides water and certain nutrients. In organisms called lichens, a chlorophyll containing partner, which is an alga, and a fungus live together. The fungus provides shelter, water and minerals to the alga, and in return the alga prepares and provides food to the fungus. Some organisms live together and share both shelter and nutrients. This relationship is known as symbiosis. Example for this is some fungi live inside the roots of plant. The plant provides nutrients to the fungi and in return the fungi provides water and certain nutrients. And in an organism called lichens, a chlorophyll containing partner, alga, and a fungus live together. And the fungus provides shelter, water and minerals to the alga, and in return the alga prepares and provides food to the fungus. How nutrients are replenished in the soil. How nutrients are replenished in the soil. Have you seen farmers spreading manure or fertilizer in the fields or gardeners using them in lawns or in pots? Do you know why this is done? You learn that plants absorb minerals and nutrients from the soil, so their amount in the soil keep on declining. Fertilizers and manures contain nutrients such as nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, etc. These nutrients need to be added from time to time to enrich the soil. We can grow plants and keep them healthy if we can fulfill the nutrient requirement of plant. Usually crop plants absorb a lot of nitrogen and the soil become deficient in nitrogen. You learn that through nitrogen gas is available in plenty in air, plants cannot use it in the manner they can use carbon dioxide. They need nitrogen in a soluble form. The bacteria called rhizobium can take atmospheric nitrogen and convert it into a usable form. The bacteria called rhizobium can take atmospheric nitrogen and convert it into usable form. But rhizobium cannot make its own food, so it often lives in the roots of grams, peas, moons, beans and other legumes and provide them with nitrogen. In return, the plants provide food and shelter to the bacteria. They thus have a symbiotic relationship. This association is of great significance for the farmers. They can reduce the use of nitrogen fertilizers where leguminous plants are grown. Most of the pulses, that means dals, are obtained from leguminous plants. The key points are: all organisms need food and utilize it to get energy for growth and maintenance of their body. Green plants synthesize food for themselves with the process of photosynthesis. They are autotrophs. Plants like Cascuta are parasites. They take food from the host plant. Plants use simple chemical substances like carbon dioxide, water, and minerals for the synthesis of food. Chlorophyll, water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight are essential requirements for photosynthesis. Complex chemical substances such as carbohydrates are the products of photosynthesis. Solar energy is absorbed by the chlorophylls present in leaves or plants. Oxygen is produced during photosynthesis. Oxygen released in photosynthesis is utilized by living organisms for their survival. Many fungi derive nutrients from dead and decaying matter. They are saprotrophs. A few plants and all animals are dependent on others for their nutrients and called heterotrophs. Thank you.